and welcome to the show. Here we got Tim Childree over there behind the machine, making everything happen.
Hello.
Doing all the stuff I don't know how to do.
As good as it is, I keep messing with the volume over here.
I'm your host, Brian Mallard, and before we introduce this week's guest, I want to say, if you have any questions, because there's a delay between you putting the question in, asking the question, and us getting it, put it in the first or the second segment, and then we will answer in the third segment when we get them.
and I also want to make a point. We're dealing with some new programs I got in. I saw Timothy Carroll has joined, and if you guys happen to hear of anything in the sound, or if you see anything that we might want to fix on the fly, please tell us.
Critique is a good thing.
If you make a mistake, as long as you do it 3 times.
Right.
Nobody ever knows.
You don't think it's part of the plan.
That's right.
This week's special guest is Charlie Tigner.
Oh,
how you doing, man?
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. So, we got to go back in time a little bit here. You were actually supposed to be on Minstrels on the Block.
I was. And I got all ready to go, and I had to do some repairs to my guitar and everything, and then didn't know where exactly or when to show up, and finally got in touch with you, I guess, tried to get in touch with the rest of you, and then finally I think you were the one that called me back and was like, no more show, man.
It was axed.
They heard you were coming. They heard you were coming, you can't. So, yeah.
So only like 5 years later, we finally get him on the show.
Man, yeah, it's good to be here.
Better late than never.
Yes, indeed.
So, Charlie, you're a musician.
I would say more of an entertainer.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because there's actually a big difference in the thing.
Sure. Well, those musicians know what they're doing. I don't have any idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, Charlie, pull that mic a little bit closer.
Sure.
We're
an
still trying
entertainer.
to work things out here.
Right.
Is
that a little better?
You sound great now.
Wonderful.
Infotainment.
Yeah.
Any adjustments are part of the act. We got to do it 2 more times.
Right.
Okay, so so you've been doing this for a while now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, playing on the 1,000 block of Broadway since probably 95, 96, around there, and then as a preteen, I used to skateboard down Broad Street and things, and there's nothing there but a couple of dirty bookstores, bars, and weed shops and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just starting to play guitar then, and I thought, well, man, this would be a great little area to have some entertainment. I wish I could, I hope I get big enough to play down here one day. And Sure enough, with the advent of the Canon, and well, of course, the Loft early on, but that was a little out of my
Right.
But it's been nice.
Now, tell me a little bit about the music scene in the 90s. See, I missed that.
It was incredible. We had things, there was a lot going on. We'd have a lot of shows in the little courtyard behind the Loft.
Right, the Backyard Boogies. I remember that.
Rankin thing, even before the Backyard Boogies.
Oh, wow.
I guess it was Buddy's place, I suppose, but
Right.
they had a stage back there that was permanent. At the time, it's fixed in there, and had a bunch of good shows there. And then, out in the median sometimes, out in the Dave Wolf would have a lot going on the tap, a lot of live music there.
Yeah.
At the time, and then with the advent of Skydog Gypsy, we had which was just amazing. The first time I heard those guys play, I was at I think it was one of those Uptown Jam.
Right, I remember those.
Used to have, and Government Mule was the headliner that day.
Oh,
and,
wow.
So we were all excited, we got down there, and I tell you what, it was a hot, miserable day, and the whole day long, it was just everything, every bit of music I heard was, it just was like unsatisfactory, and Government Mule, who I look forward to all day, it was right before Alan Woody died.
Wow.
The bass player, but they were already playing. He and Warren Haynes were playing with Allman Brothers at the same time.
Wow.
And but it was like they had both eaten too many greasy hot dogs that day or something. It was
wow.
It's terrible. So in disgust, we were headed home. My wife and I were headed home, and thank goodness she had to stop at the porta potty on the way out. And while there, I heard this band playing Fish. I thought it was a band playing Fish. I wasn't sure, but I thought, man, if it's just somebody playing that.
Right.
At that time in Columbus, I thought, nobody's listening to Fish. I got to go meet this person. It might be the savior for my day. So as I got closer to where the sound was coming from, sure enough, there was a bunch of kids up there.
Wow.
It was the 6-piece Skydog back then, and they were playing some Fish, and then they went on to do some Floyd, and that really and it blew me away, man.
That's so cool. There's a lot of bands from that time that I'm very familiar with. My brother Walter Mallard used to shoot down there.
Oh yeah.
And Skydog Gypsy was one of the ones.
Oh yeah.
I heard a lot about.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Now
we had a lot of the girl from Sugarland. She had a band called Soul Miner's Daughter back
yes,
then.
that's right.
She'd play, every 2 or 3 months down there outside the tap,
And boy, did she go on! I mean,
oh yeah. You could always kind of tell.
Yeah.
But it was strange back then. Is she would had the majority of her following were like young college-aged gay women.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And it was strange. I didn't realize there were that many of those folks in Columbus at that age, but she'd draw them in from all around. But now it's just a completely different other thing,
Yeah, exactly.
Certainly.
It's funny because that's one aspect I remember of it, that would be the majority of her audience.
Sure, yeah.
And she was not. But
Oh, yeah. A girl can dream.
Now you started. Did you play with Skydog Gypsy?
I did hair and makeup mainly, and travel with them a good bit. But just love the guys. I heard those guys. They really had some amazing stuff over the years. I mean, really, Dean Tovey is probably one of the best guitar players I've ever been in a room with. If not the best. But and of course, Alan, the drummer, has gone on to be with the Disco Biscuits and has done incredible things. He's just doing really well. So yeah, it was a fun ride.
Okay, so now you saw you were skateboarding down there.
Yeah.
How did you get to actually start playing? Because
I was at the time, I guess in the mid '90s. From '93, I guess we had the Watermelon Creek Band.
Right.
My first wife and I, and Steve and Shelley Hall, some friends from Florida, and Eric Gunner was the drummer, and we played all over, the region or whatever the area quite often. All the good VFWs and bingo halls that you can.
Right.
But we still had that going at the time that during one of those uptown things, that was going on, outdoor things, I walked by and they just started working on the Cannon brew pub. And I played a little bit, I think, here and there at the Tap at that point. But Bill Gant was there working on the Cannon, and I popped in and talked to him, and didn't realize who he was at first. But then it came to realize he used to come down as a lay minister to our Episcopal church here, and see when I was very young.
Right.
And he became we miss him terribly. He became one of my dearest friends. But that set in motion with the Cannon Open. I played there, pretty much once a week for 10 years almost.
Wow, that's a steady gig.
Yeah, it was in some capacity or another.
Right.
And then over at Picasso, Larry Kirkland's been a hell of a supporter over there over the years. It kept me going.
Things have changed a bit.
They have.
I'm gonna to butt in real quick. I saw something interesting on Charles' Facebook page. It's a while back. Did you, and I could be mistaken, guys, at one time you got to play with Colonel Rob.
Colonel Bruce?
Yep, or Colonel Bruce.
We didn't. I didn't personally play with him, but the Skydog played. Did some shows with him, and I've met him on several occasions at the Loft and other places. He was a hell of a guy. Just an inspirational figure. It's like the guru.
Yeah,
of it. And
that's really tragic.
Just for the record, I've got a terrible suspicion that he's sitting back with Elvis somewhere in Cuba. I'm hoping he's not gone, because he was really one of those rare people that just it was almost a divinity about him. He's amazing.
And you know what? If you have to go, then I would want to go the way that man did.
Oh yeah.
He was on stage doing what he loved to do. So.
Sure. I think I've finally sold enough magazine subscriptions to where I can. I'll be shot in the back at 95, climbing out of a trailer window by a jealous 20-year-old husband.
Hey, what a way to go.
Could be a dream. We're on it.
I've always told Stacy that, the best way to go for me would be, the best gig, best sound we ever had, just drop dead in the middle of the stage.
Oh, yeah.
That's legendary.
Yeah.
Well,
it really matters more to the people that are left behind, I guess. Right. The method or the means of what your demise is. But I grew up with a lot of music in my around me. My dad played, and only in the key of C, but he could just about take anything, hear it off the radio or anywhere, and sit down on the piano and immediately play it. Wow. C. Which was I didn't realize what that really meant growing up. I knew kind of all sounded the same, the stuff that he would play. But my older brother, who I never had a chance to know, he died before I came along. I probably wouldn't be here had he not passed away. But he had a band in boarding school in Virginia back in the late 60s, or like 68.
Yeah.
And I grew up, I had all his reel-to-reel tapes of this band, and they did Hendrix and Cream and the Beatles and all this kind of stuff. So I grew up listening to him play that.
Wow.
And that's really what made me really want to, do this.
Right. Yeah.
I've yet to achieve it, but it's a journey, right?
It's always a journey.
Yeah.
and like I say about a lot of things, well, it's two things. Just do it, one. And two is you never, ever do you get there until you get there.
No, and then what do you do if you get there? I mean,
there you go.
what do we do? You know,
Live on an island with lots of cash.
right. Just go join Bruce and Elvis out there.
There you go.
Great time, yeah.
Seafood all day long. You know.
Yeah.
Now, do you write or do you?
I do. Yeah, they're all songs I co-wrote with Uncle Bath Time.
Mm-hmm.
No, Butch Anthony and I did a CD worth of stuff, songs that he and I got together. He had a bunch of stories, like backstories to go with some of his artwork
Nice.
back in the early '90s when he was really starting to take off.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I grew up together out in Seal.
Cool.
And so, he said, help me write some songs to go with my. And so I went over and talked to him. We went through some ideas, and I went home that night and wrote 11 songs.
Wow.
And we came back, and I came back to him, but then we kind of shuffled some things around, wrote a few more lyrics here and there, and then within a few weeks, we went into Larry Rose's studio there.
Right.
And I recorded 9 songs one night.
Wow.
There because we just didn't have the money at the time to do anything.
Right.
But we had the Watermelon Creek Band, doing that with us, and I didn't even show them the songs till 2 nights beforehand.
Ooh.
But it's kind of it was situational because we didn't have much time. But
Right.
Also, I didn't want us to overkill it. I've killed so many songs trying to perfect them.
Right.
If I don't get it, if something comes to me, if I don't sit down and write it down within the 10 or 15 minutes,
Yeah.
it's gone. I can't work on it. If I go back and try to finesse it or work on it, it's like I lose the initial thing that was there, the groove or the hook or the feeling of the whole thing.
And that's something I've really noticed about songs too, is that songs age like a wine because, you'll have the song that you really like that they probably wrote, and sometime later, probably not much later, went to the studio and recorded, and it got on the radio, and you grew up hearing the song, and then you see the band like 30 years later, and they're playing the same song, and it's like, wow, that's, maybe there's a little bit different, execution. There's not like in the 80s, there was a very specific sound.
Right, crap.
Yeah, well, a lot of it, yeah. But then, that demanded flavor of the time is gone,
Sure.
and it's just a song
Sure.
now,
Yeah.
and it sounds really good.
Yeah.
And so, you can overkill it trying to perfect it immediately, or you can let it mature over as,
Mine, my thing, I guess it stems from the same place where I said I was an entertainer, not a musician.
Right.
It just I've never developed the discipline, I suppose.
Right.
I like to say I never played the same song twice.
Right,
Because
there you go.
it's always a little different. I'm not a big fan of making set lists.
Right.
I think that's just makes an assumption about what's going to happen, and that's neither fair to me nor the audience.
And that's something like my band, the Sally Brown Band. We do have set lists, but we'll jump around on them.
Sure.
Because like you say, you don't know what's going to happen. Every show is a different feeling.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the
Absolutely.
crowd you may have like Wicked Game coming after this, but then, oh no, these people are jamming. Let's do Sympathy for the Devil.
Right. Yeah. It's spiritually. I would like to think it was a more spiritually organic type thing that's melding with the audience, but I mean, realistically, it really does go back to the whole thing about lack of discipline. It serves it well, I suppose.
Right. So Tim, you wanna start searching for one of those commercials? We can roll in just a second.
We can film one right now. Who's your sponsor today?
I hear he's out there somewhere. But this is very, very organic and grassroots.
Indeed.
Tell you what.
It's hard to believe y'all got this big, huge studio out in North Columbus.
Right,
I've never seen it,
And the staff over here works really hard.
Your secretary was the nicest
studio.
lady.
Oh,
When we arranged all this, it's really cool.
she's fantastic.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Ready, Tim?
Commercial?
Commercial.
All right, here we go. Come join us every week for Open Mic Thursdays at Fountain City Coffee with your host, Brian Mallard. Registration begins at 6:30. Show runs from 7 to 10. Uptown Columbus, where the vibe is.
Hello and welcome back to the show. You might notice something a little different about Charlie now. He's got a guitar in his hand. We're going to listen to you play.
All right. I guess the first song I'll do is one that Butch and I did. Wrote. It was on the Watermelon Creek album. It's called. The album was called Something's in the Water, and this is a song about. It's called Sadie Whitlow, and it is about this old black woman that when we were growing up in Seal, she was a root worker, and everybody was scared to death of her in town. You know, they'd walk on the other side of the road from her, and she. Like people would come pull it up at the doctor's place where she'd put a spell on them and all this kind of stuff. And neither one of us could really remember her actual name, so Butch came up with Sadie Whitlow, and so the song's about Sadie. Oh, Sadie Whitlow, she did the best that she could. She didn't have no family, except the ones that you carved from wood. People were scared, old Sadie, you know that. Just let her be. One wrong look from that woman, she'll turn you into a tree. Yeah. She'll make you do a voodoo dance. Lord, she'll spin you all around. When old Sadie come out at night, she'll juke you to the ground. Old Sadie Whitlow, she's a lady from Alabama. Old Sadie Whitlow. Last time I went to see old Sadie, said nobody came to the door. Except the boogaloo man from a big old sycamore. Lord, he done made her crazy, you know, right down to a core. One night they rubbed together, you know, they burned up on the floor, yes. She make you do a voodoo dance. Lord, she spin you all around. When old Sadie come out at night, she juke you to the ground. Old Sadie Whitlow, lady from Alabama. Old Sadie Whitlow, won't you stay away from Sadie? Old Sadie Whitlow.
That's cool.
Thank you.
So,
Like another?
hey, would we like for him to play another song, Tim?
You got another one?
Oh man, I got.
Oh, he's got plenty of them. Yeah, go ahead and give it a shot.
Yeah, we usually do one, but hey, this is
This is
awesome.
another one that this is the best song I've ever written, in my opinion, and it came to me really, abruptly. I was driving home from my Auburn. My first wife worked at Auburn. I was a teacher at Auburn, and I had taken her to work and dropped her off, and on the way back home to Seal, there was this huge thundercloud. I mean, this nasty, gray, black thunderstorm, and right through it was a big rainbow.
Wow.
And I thought, man, there's a hook for a song. So I jumped at the first place I could stop where I knew somebody lived, that I knew somebody was there. I'd ran in their house with a pen and paper and put this song down. So this is it. But it's about my deceased mother, who is not deceased. So she's still kicking, doing very well. But here you go. Hard to believe that it happened that way. Sunday morning felt like any other day. When you came around, I caught a chill from your eye. You said, sit down, son, got something to say. Been up all night trying to think of a way to tell you that I must be moving on. Well, the doctor said the Lord, he's calling me home. Well, pain's getting worse and you won't be long. So hear my words, they're all I have to give. said, son, sometimes a rainbow don't follow the rain, and sometimes you're crying, it won't ease your pain. So keep your eyes wide open and free. When it feels like nothing else can go wrong, baby, just hear my words and may they keep you warm. Well, sometimes you find your rainbows in the storm. It wasn't too long before Mama was gone. I headed out to find the world on my own. Gonna turn a good boy into a fine man. Didn't know where I was going, didn't know where to begin. Well, I'm full of bruises, but in the end, it was Mama's words that kept me carrying on. She said, son, sometimes the rainbow don't follow the rain, and sometimes you cry and it won't ease your pain. So keep your eyes wide open and free. When it feels like nothing else can go wrong, baby, just hear my words and may they make you strong. Well, sometimes you find your rainbows in the storm. Sometimes you find your rainbows in the storm.
Very cool.
Hello, I'm Catherine Childree with Let's Vocalize. For over 35 years, I've coached vocalists and groups privately. I also perform vocal workshops training choirs. I'd love the opportunity to show you how direction, discipline, vocal health care, and regular practice can drastically improve you, your group, or your choir's performance. Call me at 706-536-6123 or visit us online at www.letsvocalize.com. I'd love to help you offer your best gift.
Yes, Toddy, the chocolate malt in a can.
It's so good hot. It's so good cold.
It hits the spot with young and old.
Yes, toddy pleases everybody. Delicious chocolate malted toddy, made with rich, real milk, not powdered milk.
So come and get it, everybody. It's time to drink your chocolate toddy.
Delicious.
Get your toddy. So those were some really cool songs.
Well, thank you, thank you.
Is there a CD that people can get those on?
You can go to my either my Facebook music page, which is Charlie Tigner Music, or my Reverb Nation page, which
Cool.
there's a link on the Facebook page to that that we can download all of them free.
Very cool.
Yeah, I don't really believe in selling your music. I think it should be free. It's a form of advertising. You know, you get paid when you work.
Well, that's true. You can.
And,
you
I mean, of
get
course,
paid
if
for the
somebody else
gigs.
records it and makes a bunch of money, which please somebody do that. I'd like a share of that.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right.
But as far as I mean, anybody, I can't imagine it costing anybody that wants to have my music. It's such an honor that somebody would want to have it.
I remember there was a famous artist, back when everybody was downloading all the time, like Napster and all that stuff, and then all the artists were all been out of shape.
Sure.
And there was one that said, "Well, that's the only way they're going to hear my music."
Yeah,
Knock
get
yourself
it out there, man. You look at like the Grateful Dead. They let tapers come in, all the 30
Charles, do
seconds.
me a favor. Pull that mic a little closer
Okay,
to you
sure.
and talk into it.
Okay, yeah. Like the Dead, they spent all that time on the road, and Jerry Garcia's, they gave away their music. They didn't have a lot of
Right.
studio, and album sales and stuff like that. But yet, Jerry Garcia's estate was what, $6 billion or
Right.
something like that. So it's, there's money to be made without being stingy.
And if people are passing around the stuff, and it's going to make
You
them
got
wanna
more
come
people
see
show up to your shows.
Yeah.
You can charge more for tickets, and that
That's-
type of thing. So.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
true. Yeah, and there's there's a happy medium there somewhere.
Got to be. Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
And you know, I want to go ahead and say that since this is our last segment that we're going to have before we end the show for today, you know, I noticed that we have a lot of people from the artistic community that's signing on and off. You know, we've got Scott Beecham, Steve Owen, Tim Wynn.
Hey, Scott.
You know, Timothy Carroll, Robert Earl Lowry. I just wanted to give you guys a shout out and say how much we appreciate you stopping by. And, you know, I'll go ahead and put the word out that, you know, if you have an interest in being on the show in the future, hey, go to our Facebook page. You'll see it be popping up on the bottom of the screen. Let us know. And
the green room's immaculate.
We will pencil you in.
Yeah, we would definitely pencil you in. Come enjoy the green room and the
green
fully
room.
stocked bar.
Yeah, I can't believe it, man. I mean, it's like Knob Creek and high-end stuff, man.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
We don't cheap out around here. So, Charlie, tell us a little bit about what you've got going on right now.
Man, you know, it's kind of every now and then I'll play down at Picasso, and I've done a few private parties and things like that. But mainly my business is bachelorette parties and jumping out of cakes these days.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm wide open. I'm available if anybody would like to book. You can go to the Facebook page and
Once again, send all mail to Moderately Informed.
That's right.
So now, let's get. You may have just done that, but let's get everything straight back to back. All the places they can find you online.
Okay, I have there's Charlie Tigner Music on Facebook. That's a page there, and then I have a Reverb Nation page that's Charlie Tigner.
Cool.
And then I have a personal Facebook page, which is Charles Tigner, and but there also I've got a bunch of friends that are Charles Tigners from around the country. I never in my life have known any other ones than my dad, but
wow.
But they recently I've got several friends from all over the country that share the same name, and you can have a more diverse group of folks.
Wow.
You would be absolutely amazed. Actually, ashamed to say it, but I had to when I was making up the lower third for Charlie, I had to go and make sure I spelled his name correctly.
Yeah.
So I typed it in. You'd be absolutely amazed at Charles Tigners that pop up on
Oh
Facebook.
yeah. The first thing like if you Google my name, the first thing that pops up is like there's a guy who's like a sex offender from Montgomery, Alabama, and then there's a guy they executed in Texas,
Oh, man.
and then you get me.
He's still alive, y'all.
Yeah, I'm in third place, but I'm doing all right.
So we talked a little bit earlier about the difference between a musician and a entertainer. Would you care to delve into that a little bit?
Well, I think there's a great deal of ability more so in a musician than an entertainer. I'll put on a grass skirt and play the congas for you if that's what you want me to do.
Right.
It's not. This is just this is a tool
Right.
for me. It's not. It's. And I really have no idea what I'm doing. It's purely imitation and smoke and mirrors.
But hey, yeah, I went to that school too.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's all you can afford.
That's true. And it's like there is. I think that's actually a very important difference because like you have people like say the Dead. You have people like Jimi Hendrix, who was like just amazing.
Yeah.
They were their musical expertise was.
There's something in their soul, really.
Yeah.
It comes out. The Colonel was like that. Colonel Bruce.
Right.
Just,
yeah.
two notes, and it was just like God. It's almost Shakespearean in the way. And it's if you took like his guitar style or guitar playing, right from the top, it was horrible.
Right.
Really. But it was so inspirational and so amazing. He didn't. Nobody but him could play like that,
Right.
and get away with it.
And the way people
amazing.
play is like a fingerprint. Like everybody's is
Sure,
completely different.
Sure. Now, I envy the people who are well trained and very very talented musicians and know that. But and I can read some music and that kind of thing and get into it, but it ceases to be number one enjoyable for me in that sense. It becomes mathematic.
Right.
And it's not. Yeah, it's no longer what I love doing.
Right. Yeah, and music, you have to have that soul. You have to have that feeling. A good example of a showman is Elvis. Like he was a musician, but he was definitely a showman.
But, you look at Elvis too. He probably knew 1, 2, 3 chords on the guitar.
Sure.
I mean, he'd pick it up. People would go crazy. He knew
Right.
he'd hit a bar chord and boom, boom, boom.
Sure.
And
Sure.
You're a
It-
superstar.
For some people, it's all about the instrument. For some people, like Charlie here, it's the person. You know, he's up there with Elvis and all the other
Oh, no,
showmen.
I can't do that. Can't say that.
Well, you know, I remember a couple of years back, I was watching, and I forgot the name of these shows because really I don't get into them that much.
Right.
But these talent shows that they have, and there was this one guy that walked up, and he said, "Hey, I'm a pig farmer." I don't know if you saw the clip on this.
Yeah.
And
I
but
can't
the
remember
guy,
what he did, but I
you know,
remember
then the
it.
guy gets up and he pretty much blows everyone away
Right.
because he was
Right.
singing a song and it came from the heart,
Yeah.
Wow. Right.
and it took him all the way through that competition.
Sure.
Yeah.
Man, that was the thing I saw. Somebody shared on Facebook the other day. Some guy on the America's Got Talent show, and he's just a really, really mousy looking kid. You know, he had a very effeminate voice, and he started singing, and it was like the deepest soulful thing you've ever heard. I mean, just everybody,
Wow.
chin on the ground. Where did that come from?
And you know
Amazing.
that's this is just a personal observation. That's the reason I don't like those shows is they will take people that will come on and just have natural talent, and then when they get a hold of them, they said, "Okay, we have to change your image,
sure,
and we have
sure,
to do
sure.
that," and they turn them
Yeah.
in, and you never hear from
Oh,
them
yeah.
again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, overproduction.
Yeah.
Has ruined a bunch of good stuff.
Yeah.
But the other thing about those shows is that the service they do well. I think that's that there's a lot of people in the world, and I might be one of them. Nobody's said anything yet, but that are just absolutely convinced that they can sing or perform, and they ends up they're tone deaf. But they're so proud of what they're doing and the ability. They put so much into it that it's just you just say, well, nobody's told them, but. How do you do that when somebody has so much confidence and they come up and they're just like way over here?
I can relate to that more than you know. My wife's a vocal teacher, so
Sure.
Well, every now and then they'll take one of these big time singers, pop singers, and they'll isolate their vocals from a show. And
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible.
It's
horrible.
like, ugh.
And like I said, mine's, thank goodness there wasn't so much a recording going on all these years. There's some things I wish I did have.
Right.
Yeah, some shows I played, but the majority of it, once in a live setting, in a live audience, it's when you mess up, like I said, you do it 3 times.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it becomes like you meant to, or it's gone.
Right,
You're only as good as the next note.
Right,
the next,
exactly.
And a wise old blues player, one of those from over toward Churchbury, Alabama, Union Springs, James Peterson, told me years ago. He said, "Man, he said it's the notes you don't play." He said, anybody can learn how to hit every note on the damn guitar.
Right.
But it's the notes that you don't play that allow the people to digest and have that space to feel what you're trying to communicate.
Eddie Wilson said, "Music's got to live, man. It's got to breathe."
Right. Which is another thing that falls right nicely in with my lack of discipline. I don't know so many notes to play.
And we got into that. I know last week, and we will have her back. We had some tech problems; couldn't get it up. But Dee
yes.
Armstrong was here last week, and she was actually sitting in the chair you were in. And I guess the question came up to what is technology doing these days? Is it good? Is it bad as far as entertainment?
Sure.
And she pretty much had the same opinion as you did, which is it's great as far as you can use it to your advantage, but in a lot of ways it's sucking the soul out of
Oh, yeah.
whatever artistic venue you're in.
Sure, yeah, I can see that.
And she said, these days people just go online and they, for some reason, just stop going, to a live audience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a thing not too long ago that said, it's always been amazing to me because I grew up in a time where if you say had to do a book report on a humpback whale, you go to a card catalog in the library,
Right.
search for it, all this time, and you maybe get a paragraph worth of information that you need to base your report on. Now, the entire knowledge of the entire universe is right at your fingertips within a tenth of a second. Which it's kind of shameful that we as as a species haven't done more with that.
Right.
But
right.
it's convenient. It's wonderful. But I saw the other day somebody said we're drowning in information but starving for wisdom.
Yeah.
Which is which is.
That
But
is-
the good thing about that is I think these are trying times and could appear to be very dark times. But I think the good news is with that is that chaos and order are next door neighbors on the big dial of existence.
Yeah.
And so the tipping point isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you got to there are no circles. It's all ellipses. You gotta have that thing that'll keep it all going.
And maybe one day there will be a renaissance of wisdom.
Sure. Because there certainly has been one of anti-election and intellectualism. You know, it's somebody. I saw another thing the other day. Somebody said, I don't need no damn books. I got common sense, and they wrote SINCE. You know, exactly.
And you know, I think the epitome of the way technology, quote unquote, is taking over is, and before I get any hate mail, I did not vote this time, ladies and gentlemen. But when you have the President of the United States that sits in the Oval Office and tweets almost 24 hours a day.
Yeah, man, that's a tricky little thing you just opened up there. I
honestly, look, I agree with a lot of what's going on, but there's a lot of other things that I just sit there and shake my head going, man, I wish they would take that doggone Twitter account away from him.
There's, the whole thing, the whole movement that way is towards the ultra-conservative type, angle. This is just a bounce back from the pendulum swinging the other way for 8 years or whatever. But the thing that I was kind of impressed and amazed with when we had our first black president, that there wasn't like that all the hatred and prejudice and all these things that I saw growing up in the South, and it seemed to just like bubble down to not. It wasn't quite the uproar that I thought it would do, but. Now, 8 years later, I see that a lot of that was just being held back and squashed, and
until
because it was unacceptable to express it. But now there's a lot of that. It's strange. It really is.
On my next episode, we're going to go into all of the wrongs of political correctness.
No, we're not. We leave all the political stuff to our friends who are moderately informed.
Well, I'll tell you what. One quick thing, and then we're gonna go ahead and roll out of here. But what advice would you give to upcoming artists, musicians, or anything?
Don't tell them you're bigger than Jesus, and don't give it away. And play your guitar or whatever your instrument is, and don't try so much to do anything that anybody else is doing. Sure, I play cover tunes all the time, but I'm not. It's play it how it feels to you, not how you think it's supposed to sound.
Right. Reinvent. There's nothing wrong with that.
Indeed.
And
Tim?
once again, before we go, I just want to thank everyone that's taken the time to stop by today, and please make it a habit. I think for the next couple of weeks, we're probably going to go ahead and just go ahead on my personal timeline and run this thing live because we're trying to build an audience. And but what we're asking is, please go over to the show, which is at the show-Columbus on Facebook.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and see if I can put that thing up. There you go. And, go ahead and click on there to notify you whenever we pop on, which should be every Sunday afternoon at 3:30.
Right on.
Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you, Charlie, for coming on. And I'm glad we were finally able to get you on.
5 years, but it's there.
We got him. And we'll have him back
just
again.
Just about a drop of sand in the hourglass.
Till next time, I'm your host, Brian Mallard. Tim over there running things, and Charles taking over.